Hello, everybody. Welcome back. How's everyone doing today? So, the last video you guys saw was like straight from the heart and meant every single word of it. This video is gonna be a lot more. It's gonna be a lot more lighter. Trust me. Because today we're gonna talk about this. I've learned a lot in my 34 years. And one thing I am learning is that I realized that it was now time to get my degree, and I'm working hard on getting it in marine biology, because that's what I'm going for, and it's something I've been passionate about. So, like I said in previous videos. So, there's always been this one idea in my head that I've had that I always thought was kind of funny, interesting, more or less. What is all your takes on this? Do you guys believe that one day we will step foot on Mars? That's the $1,000,000 question that everybody's ever wanted to know. You know, what's funny is a lot of like science fiction people, a lot of these conspiracy theorist people, they talk about the Hadron Collider, that collider in CERN, that if it ever collided, it could create a black hole. You know what black holes are, right? Those dark holes in space that can suck in planets and you never see them again? Those. I also, you know, when I was younger, I was fascinated by nature. Still am, hence the degree part in it. And I always thought, one thing that I always thought was interesting about nature was this: is it doesn't matter how hard, nature always finds a way to adapt to survive. That's the one thing that nature does. Like, for instance, how animals can survive some of the harshest conditions in the world, like the frozen tundras of Antarctica, to the Death Valley. Creatures have learned to adapt to survive in the most harshest conditions of all time. Now, on the subject of surviving and all the climate and stuff, there's one thing that always amazed me about movies that involved animals. It makes you realize that humans are, in the movies, it makes the humans look really dumb by just how we do things. Like in the movie, like Placid, there's always that one guy who sees bubbles in the water and goes, I'm gonna go walk onto that dock and stare into that water to look at those bubbles. Maybe I'll see a fish. And he leans over to look at the bubbles, and boom, gone. One of the funniest things about the old Jaws movie was people, after when Jaws came out, people were like, "Ah, there's no great white sharks that size. That's just Hollywood." But now they're finding out that there are 23 to almost 25, 28-foot great whites out there. Makes you rethink that makes that Jaws shark that you saw in that movie look really tiny. And there's a movie that came out like back in like 2000, I think it was called Primal, and it was a story of Gustav. For those of you who don't know who Gustav is, Gustav was considered to be the largest freshwater crocodile there ever was. And to this day, and this movie came out in 2000 to this day, they have been trying to capture him with no avail. Because what Gustav does is this. They try to use metal traps on him. He crushes them. Not with the sheer size of his body, but by his mouth. The reason why they want Gustav gone is because people were coming up missing, livestock were missing. But that kind of what happens when you build your villages on riverbanks when there's crocodiles nearby. Do I think Gustav's still around to this day? It could happen if he found a way to survive it. But do I really think so? I doubt it. Now, there was one thing that that was creepy as all get out. And that was the movie Congo, about the gorillas. That was the one movie that I thought was always kind of interesting. And also terrifying in some points, because that one gorilla could talk. But then when she went to that cave and the guy stand there and all the gorillas surround him, I don't care if that gorilla talks or not. You're going to see a human-sized print of me going like this through the door, through the wall, to get as far away from that as I can. It's like the movie Anaconda. You know, giant snake. Yes, I get that that there are snakes that anacondas can get pretty big. And I'll tell you right now, that movie, it wasn't bad. The next three sequels, on the other hand, not so much. It was like Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea was the first one was good. But then you added two more sequels, and that made it more, it ran out of ideas. And I know I'm gonna probably get a lot of gripe for this, but how many Fast and the Furious movies do they intend to make? Because they're almost close to 10. They're on 9 right now. They're on Fast 10. They're working on Fast 10 pretty soon. So what are they going to do after? Because first they started off as stealing stuff from trucks. Then they went to stealing from drug lords. What are they going to do now? Next? Find Atlantis? Stop Nazis? Better idea. They're going to find the Ark. Yeah. That's what they're going to find. That's what they're going to steal. They're going to find Nicolas Cage and they're going to be like, hey, your family, right? We're going to go steal Declaration of Independence and find that treasure, right? All right. We drive our cars? Yeah? Speaking of national treasure, they need to make another one. That movie was great. They need to make another Lost Boys movie, like I've said in previous videos. So, Hollywood, I'm waiting. Jurassic Park, The Fallen Kingdom, awesome movie. Lost Dominion, I'm looking forward to that. But there's some movies that just need to stop. Need to stop doing this because I'm still waiting for the day that one of these days Hollywood's going to run out of ideas for movies, and they're just going to come up with the idea of making Teletubbies, the movie, or Pong, the movie. And if they do that, that's going to be really hard to watch because I don't know about y'all, but Teletubbies were a little on the creepy side because they were overly happy and they were all cheery. They were like they were about as creepy as the Wiggles. Yeah. Now, there's one thing that I always thought was interesting. In the history of everything they've made from movies and video games, why haven't we ever? How come we've never gotten a Zelda movie or a Donkey Kong movie or a decent Mario movie or a Castlevania movie? Hmm? Those are the questions that need answered. And I know that a lot of people might not like video game movies, but trust me, if you've seen Mario, I can kind of see where you're coming from. Because it was, yeah. And then there comes the most epic failure of movies in my book. And that was the Street Fighter movie. That movie was absolute garbage. It was really hard to get into. The only thing they had going for it was, well, it tried. Mortal Kombat movies were great. I liked them. The new Mortal Kombat movie blows the other two of them out of the water. But the one movie that I would really love to see, and in my book, I would love to see them make a remake, is Aragon. And I'm not talking about Aragon from Lord of the Rings. No. I'm talking about Aragon, the book from like the Blue Dragon with Saphira and all them. Remake that movie and make it better. Please. And while we're on the subject of that, is it too much to ask for them to finally finish Percy Jackson movies off? Put the other 3 books out. Make the movies of them. So we can finally, because you left that last one on a cliffhanger, and it's kind of hard to go, oh, right, there's going to be another one, there's going to be a sequel. You see the box of Kronos open, and then you don't make a movie. Why? Now, you could make James Bond forever, because there's always a bad guy you can come up with. It's the same with Mission Impossible. But I'm very glad they never made a Barney movie. There's that Barney, not the Barney from Flintstones, that purple creepy dinosaur that was really happy and loved hugs. And even though that they do make these movies kind of, it's their own. You know, if you really wanted to do it, they could. If they followed the Book of Lord of the Rings, those movies would be like 6 hours long a piece. And I heard they're trying to make the Sumerian, and the something about the Rise of Rohan, Rohan-ish things. And I heard now that they're making a Game of Thrones TV series now, another one about the Targaryens, which I think would be pretty cool because I will watch that stuff. Because trust me, Game of Thrones was like my jam, and I own all the Game of Thrones series, and even though the ending of the final season did, we're not going to talk about that ending because that ending was just, yeah, I'm not going to go there. But the one thing that always really annoyed me more than anything else is TV shows that, like, they get to the final season and they end it just to find out that they continued the series in a comic book. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Or, for instance, the TV series Angel with David Boreanaz, the vampire one. How are you going to end that series on the most epic battle scene of all time, and you don't even let us see the battle? You end the series, and then you don't get to let the people get to see the epic battle happen. Yeah. Now, the one thing I do find that I know it might sound really weird saying this, but on TV series that I've, like the movie, The Chilling Tales of Sabrina, how they ended that series was like spot on. She dies in the TV series, and it ended that way. That's how you're supposed to end a TV series. That way, there's no chance of another company picking it up and trying to make a remake of it. Which I truly thought was like spot on. And like the TV show Vikings, loved that show. And I heard that in the game Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you can actually reenact the Battle of Paris, which in my book was like Ragnar Lothbrok's most epic battle, because he tried so hard to take Paris. That was his goal. He wanted to take Paris to sea. He wanted to take Paris. And it took him having to fake his own death for him to, and have him, he had the full burial, like the whole, he wanted to be baptized and the whole Christian burial. And as they're pulling his coffin into this thing, and everyone's, the priest and all them are praying over him, he pops out of the coffin, takes the princess, backs up to the door, opens the door, and lets his army in, and takes Paris. And to stop the thing, the bloodshed with the fighting, Rollo. Spoiler if you haven't seen Vikings, but if you haven't seen Vikings now, you probably won't see it. Rollo goes on to marry the Princess of Francia, which is now known as France, by the way. And he goes on to help fight the battle when they're over in the New World, when they get word that Ragnar is killed by King Egbert, whatever his name is, they come back. Rollo stays behind and go back to Francia. But the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok come in, and the part of that show that made me just really, that part that just got me right here, just hit me right here, was the fact that when King Egbert was sitting on his horse and with the army there, and he sees this little band of Vikings, and he's like saying, "Oh, the gods are with us. We are going to win this war." And then all of a sudden and then more of them show up, and then more and more and more and more and more, and pretty soon he realizes that there is no way he's going to win. That was probably the most epic scene in the Vikings series. Well, next to the Rush showing up and pretty much showing the Vikings that, yeah, that was no bueno there. But that scene where Bjorn rides on horseback out and gets hit with arrows, and it takes like 4 or 5 or I think it's like 7 arrows, and then he finally, it like gets the Vikings to go, yeah, and they win, they fight. It's a gold movie. So also, before I know this video is getting kind of long, but hey, it's gonna happen. There's one thing else that I always really thought was interesting about cinema, and that is this: if you ever want to get a good laugh, just get an absolute good laugh, watch the Sci-Fi Channel on like Halloween or like during certain holidays, because the Sci-Fi Channel does this thing where they make horror movies out of those holidays. Like St. Pat's Day is all about leprechauns. And on Halloween, they have a movie called Banshee, Rise of the Banshee. When I first saw this movie, I thought this movie was going to be really cool. It sounded really cool. Then you watch it, and you realize that the only time you ever see the Banshee is near the end of the movie. Like, you mean, you hear her scream, and people die, of course, but you never see her until the end. And that was always the part that bugged me about it. But the other thing that really bugged me about this was this: is the movie Dragonheart, or The Scorpion King. There are 4 of them, of The Scorpion King. There's like 7 of the Dragonheart movies. There are 2, I mean 2, live-action versions of the Smurf movies. Which, don't get me wrong, Smurfs are kind of cool. The cartoon was pretty cool. But there's one thing that's been bugging me, and that is Space Jam. The Michael Jordan one, I liked a lot. I've heard a mixed review about the new one with LeBron James. And I've also heard that they took the song I Believe I Can Fly out of that movie, which sounds like kind of about time. But there's one thing that I think would make movies better. If you end this movie with a cliffhanger, make a sequel so that you can finish that, so that people can have closure for it. And before I close, I gotta say something that needs to be said. And I know a lot of people, I've been hearing it all week on, like, I've been hearing people talk about it all the time. Is what's my take on the new movie that's supposed to come out, Spider-Man No Way Home? If it's done right, which I hope it is, it could be one of the best Spider movies of all time. Because they haven't shown a trailer for it, which is interesting. But they've been kind of hinting at the idea that they needed to have something that shocks them all. Because they're saying that Andrew Garfield's going to be in it, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, they're going to be all in. Well, Tom Holland, of course, because he's the original Spider-Man. So, well, Tobey Maguire's the original, but this Tom Holland's the one that was in the Avengers and that stuff. And Doctor Strange is going to be in it. But there's one thing that I really want to know, and this is something that's been kind of bugging me a little bit. Is the movie called The 12 Rings? Called Shang-Chi and the 12 Rings. For those of you who don't know what the 12 Rings are, if you want to know who they are, 12 Rings, I want you to go to your TV and watch the very first Iron Man movie. And you will learn all about the 12 Rings and who they are. And yeah, this is like a backstory of that. And while we're at, and before I close, I gotta say something that this has also been bugging me a lot too. The movie Aquaman with Jason Momoa. I've been hearing rumors that they're gonna make him blonde in this next one to pay homage to the original cartoon. I really hope they don't. Because the cartoon it made Aquaman kind of seem like a weakling. Because he could fly, of course. But his only true power was he could talk to dolphins. Which would make him kind of like the ocean's version of Dr. Dolittle. And that's about all I can really say about that movie. Now, in closing, I hope everybody has a great night. I hope everybody has a great day. And I'm probably going to go sit down tonight, sit in my chair, and watch Harry Potter, one of them. I haven't started with one yet. Might start with the first one. Who knows? And for bonus points and a shout out in this video, if eventually, in the comments, if you can tell me, if you can guess what Harry Potter movie is my favorite movie of all the series, I will give you a shout out in the next video. And before I forget, if I get to 1,000 subscribers, I will have my mom or my friends dump a bucket of ice water over my head for everybody on this camera to see. If I get to 10,000 subscribers, I'll make So Smooth t-shirts. And I'll sell them on my channel for, I'll have to see how much they are first. And if I do make t-shirts that say "So Smooth" on them, keep it smooth, would you guys wear one? And if you're liking this video so far, hit that thumbs up button, like I know you want to. And hit that subscribe button, like a champ, because it helps me out a lot, and it allows me to do what I do, make more videos for you guys. So, thanks for watching. I'm Joel Silva, and as always, keep it smooth.